It is Wager Talk Today, live for Thursday, July the 25th. We are live every weekday, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here on Wager Talk TV. But we also are archived 24/7 for your viewing pleasure. So hit subscribe like the screen is telling you. Click the bell for instant alerts so you never miss when these shows go live. And don't forget, MLB First Pitch is on live 11 a.m. Eastern every weekday. And I point that out because there's a lot of daytime games. So be sure to check out the First Pitch episode, which just aired in case you missed it live, for some of that daytime baseball. But we are going to get to two of the nighttime baseball games, A's, Angels, Braves, Mets, with both Ralph Michaels and Mark Zinno here on the show today. We're also going to talk a lot of college and pro football with both of those guests, and then finish it off with some UFC with our fight expert, Kyle Anthony, here on the show for Thursday. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez. You are safe today and tomorrow. It's a Prez-free zone until next week. But don't you worry, my co-host Teddy Covers is with me to keep this show legit. Great show for Thursday. Let's get started with the chart master himself, Ralph Michaels. It's going to start with a little baseball, but then get to some monster charts in football. Ralph, great to see you.
Are you guys ready for some football? We're 174 hours away from the NFL Hall of Fame game. My
goodness. That sounds big.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that a little bit in what bettors learn, because the clock is ticking for sure as football season approaches. And of course, today's show legitimizes us. We talk about being a sports central for gamblers. We're talking MLB, we're talking UFC, we're talking college football, we're talking NFL. That's sports central for gamblers, guys. Ralph, let's start with a little baseball for today. Angels and A's. Right now, look at the Wager Talk live odds screen. We've seen a lot of money for the over in this ball game, a little bit of money for LA. Open basically a pick-em total of 9. Now I'm seeing LA in the minus 115 range. Total's been bet up to 9.5. What do you want to do with LA and Oakland? This is evening action on Thursday night.
Well, I did load this for my clients earlier this morning, about 5 hours ago, and there were 9s across the board. So I did give my clients the 9. Again, that's a good reason to be an all-access customer. You get those plays as soon as they're released. But even at 9.5, I still do like the over here. You look at the A's, up until July 12th, the A's were 12 games under 500, 12 games under the 500 mark when you look at their over-under record, going 41-53. They averaged 3.8 runs per game. Since July 12th, they've gone 7-1 over-under, and they're averaging 7.8 runs per game. Against lefties, going back to May 22nd, this is a small sample size. They've only faced 5 lefties since May 22nd. Think about that, almost 2 months, and they've only played 5 lefty starters. But in that stretch, they've gone 4-1, and they've averaged 11.8 hits per game. When you look at the LA Angels as a home pick or a home favorite, they're 13-7 over-under. That's 65% to the over. And then let's take a look at 2 pitchers that shouldn't be starting today, flat out and simple. Stripling, before he went on the IL, his 4 starts, 15 1/3 innings, 17 runs, and 31 hits. He's a 34-year-old pitcher. He went on the IL, and in his rehab starts, he only got to 56 pitches in his last rehab start. They're rushing him back because they need a body today. On the flip side, the LA Angels have been decimated, their pitching staff. They demoted Detmers. Sandoval had Tommy John surgery. They've started 14 different pitchers this year. Rosenberg's only appeared in 2 games, both in mop-up duties. He's only started 4 games in his career, none this year. And it's a situation where I am happy to fade him. Add it up, and I do like the A's and Angels to go over the total.
So my biggest concern here, Ralph, is the Angels offense. You talked about the A's. The A's are actually number 1 in baseball in WRC plus over the last month, which is the most. I mean, like, if you'd have said at any month this season, is the Oakland A's going to be the number 1 team in WRC plus coming into the season, you'd have gotten what, 100-1 odds on that, 20-1 odds. Obviously, they're hitting the ball well. But the Angels aren't. In fact, the last 5 games the Angels have played against everyone not but Oakland, they've gone under the total. The lineup, 3 runs or less in 6 of their last 8 contests dating back before the All-Star break. Do we trust the Angels to get theirs in this one, despite the fact their lineup is both decimated with injury and in a situation where they're just not producing on a regular basis?
Teddy, you always know there's going to be some negative in a game. So if we like the Oakland bats and we like the Oakland starter and we like the Angel starter, there's got to be one situation or else it would likely be a 5-star release. So yes, again, that is a concern with the Angels, but I am looking at Stripling has not stopped anybody all year, no matter who he's faced. Again, so I am putting my faith in their lineup against this starter.
And Ralph, we talked about this game on MLB First Pitch earlier at 11 a.m. Eastern Live, and you'll be happy to know that Tokyo Brandon, number 1 ranked baseball capper this year in MLB at WagerTalk, pointed out that the A's have the hottest offense current form based on his metrics. And we ran a little short on time, so I couldn't dive deeper on what his metrics were. I'd find that interesting. But yeah, A's right now, one of the hottest, if not the hottest offensive teams in baseball. Who would have thunk, right? We'd be saying that at this point in the season. So that also a reason we maybe have seen that total, as Teddy pointed out, go from 9 up to 9.5 in the live betting market. And of course, you can see all those odds move real time live on the WagerTalk live odds screen for free, part of WagerTalk.com. All right, let's talk some college football. You've already scared me with saying that the NFL season starts in less than a week. 174 hours sounds like a long time. I thought you were about to say 174 days until like the Super Bowl or something, and then hours came out. But yes, Hall of Fame game is next week on the 1st of August, 1 week from today. So it's a pretty exciting time to be talking some football. And you've got a week 1 play, Nebraska UTEP. And I play a lot more big favorites, Ralph, than I did 20-some years ago when I started in this industry. And you have certain things you look for when playing a big favorite or playing a big dog. This is one of those games. It's almost a 4-touchdown spread. Nebraska UTEP, week 1. How are you handicapping this, and what side do you like?
I'm going to start this by guessing what Teddy's rebuttal was. Isn't it difficult to lay 27 points when a team has only scored 28 or more points 3 times last year? Teddy's shaking his head. No, that wasn't his rebuttal. But listen, I am a Nebraska fan this year. You know, this is Rule's 2nd season. They only went 5-7 last year, but you look at their metrics. They played much better than 5-7. They had a top 20 defense with a very confusing 3-3-5 program. You look at what they did. They were minus 17 turnovers. Now they're the number 15th most experienced team. UTEP comes in as the number 102 most experienced team. Matt Rule went 12-8, 60% as a favorite of 2 touchdowns or more. And Steve, talking about big favorites, we're going to show a chart on that. Prez asked for this last week. But when you have 2 FBS teams playing in game 1, and the team is a home favorite of minus 27 or higher, they've actually gone 46-21, 69% against the spread. You look at Nebraska. They had 5 close wins last year, 5 close losses, and 0 close wins. They had 4 losses by exactly 3 points. Again, this team played much better than you want. You look at UTEP. UTEP has a new coach. They brought him in from Austin Peay, and he brought in a crap load of Austin Peay transfers. You basically can call UTEP Austin Peay West in this situation. But they brought in 27 transfers. It's very difficult to meld a team with that many. And let me put that in perspective. Last year, only 2 teams brought in 27 or more transfers. Colorado brought in 52. They went 4-8. Arizona State brought in 31 transfers. They went 3-9. In 2000, the year before, only 2 teams had 18 transfers, USC and Buffalo. So this is an extraordinary number to bring in. You have a quarterback who was to go to Georgia, who was the number 2 quarterback and the number 7 overall pick. Dylan Raiola, he's had a great spring. I expect him to start. They brought in a QB guru who Rule coached with in the NFL. They have to play Colorado next week, so they have to get their offense right from the beginning. I think they continue to do that. And again, when you turn the ball over 31 times and are only plus 14 turnovers, that's a negative situation. By the way, even though they had a losing record, they were plus 111 yards per game. And even in the Big Ten, they were 3-6 in Big Ten action, but they were only minus 10 yards per game. That is like a team that is 500 or one game below 500. And finally, in the previous 6 years, Nebraska has had 6 different offensive coordinators. They finally now have some stability. I am a Matt Rule fan, and I think they lay the wood for their alumni and their fans in this Game 1 college football matchup.
So I certainly understand the concept of wanting to lay chalk in week 1 of the college football season. And we'll look at the charts in just a minute, which will back a lot of that up. But when we look at a program that has, I guess, uniquely underachieved for the last decade plus, Nebraska's track record as a favorite has been a disaster. I just counted, I got 2-11 their last 13 tries. I'm sure it's way worse than that. All right. So this team has a long storied history of failing to cover games like this under multiple coaches, multiple eras, multiple seasons. Wouldn't we want to see them cover 1 point spread once in this role before we start backing them? Or is this let's be proactive and not reactive? Let's get out ahead of the curve with Nebraska. There's money to be made with this team. Talk about that concept, being proactive versus waiting until you really see a sign.
Well, we know saying that a team has struggled in the favorites role is not really relevant. It depends on who your head coach was and what the mentality is in that program. In Rule's second season, we know the steps that a team makes under a head coach from year 1 to 2, and then from 2 to 3. So this is me having faith in Matt Rule, in believing his systems that he did at Temple and at Baylor. We throw out what he did in the NFL. That's a whole different ballgame. His recruiting has been strong. His coaching staff has been strong. Having a player like Dylan Raiola come in that had accepted going to Georgia, but his dad played here as an all Big 12 player. His uncle is the O-line coach. That to me is a big mentality. And Rule also talked about in his press conferences, he has over 140 kids on his roster so far this spring because all those walk-ons from the state of Nebraska, he wants to keep them in the program and build that Cornhusker mentality from inside and out. So I understand looking at what they've done in the past. I am buying into Matt Rule. If they lose the first game as a favorite, Teddy, then yes, I may be more hesitant to move them forward. But at some point, you have to make a decision in the second year of a system if you're going to buy in or not.
Yeah, and talking about, advanced games, we'll say, why would Ralph be giving out a game that's 888 hours away, math? I did the math there, Ralph, for you. On this game was on August 31st. But right now, if you check the WagerTalk live odds screen, we use 27.5 as the consensus. There's a couple books with 27. There's a couple sharp books with 28. I mean, those are 28, obviously, a very key number. 27, somewhat key. This is exactly why you play a game 5 weeks in advance. If you like them now, you get a 27. You don't need a 27 or a 28. So shop around, and this is why we talk games in advance. And like Ralph said, he loaded that baseball play at 9. It's 9.5 now. It's another reason to be a direct client because you get plays from every capper at WagerTalk the minute they're released. And don't forget, this is $5 Customer Appreciation Thursday. Each and every capper is releasing a best bet for just $5 this Thursday. Myself, Steve Merrill, I've got a nighttime baseball game. Ralph Michaels has a play. Teddy covers as well. No promo code needed. Today and today only, WagerTalk.com, $5 best bets for Customer Appreciation Thursday. And by the way, we have a Fill Your Cart special tomorrow coming up. We'll have more details on that on Friday's show, so stay tuned. Another great special tomorrow for bigger, longer-term packages at WagerTalk.com. All right, Ralph, let's keep with the big favorite theme. I love the fact that they've been winning because I've been using them a lot the last couple of years. I hate the fact that we're talking about it. Let's hope this doesn't turn into an NBA playoffs 0-2 teams down 0-2 game 3 scenario where the odds makers start to overcompensate. But I do think, something you point out with the transfer portal more active than ever, coaching changes seem to happen more. Blowouts make sense in the first month of the season, especially. Also in these non-conference games, when you're up against it, why risk injury? Get those guys out in the second half. Just let it become a blowout. And I think the chart you're going to throw up here kind of shows that as well. We're going to go how they've done overall because the Prez requested, and you're also going to look at the kind of the month by month. So I'll throw it to you. Big favorites in college football. They've been a moneymaker recently.
Well, Prez, you requested this last Thursday, so you better be watching and commenting below
exactly.
Because I did this chart for you. So damn you if you're not watching and paying attention. All right, if we could see the chart, you see that it's divided up. This is since 2018, and I left out the COVID year because there was many freaky lines with people playing weird seasons. On the left-hand side, you see double-digit favorites at -10 plus. That is the line in the black. Then I did favorites of -10 to 16.5, 17 to 23.5, 24 to 31.5, 32 to 39.5, and favorites of 40 plus. So let's look at all games. That first column, 52% for all double-digit favorites. And take a look. Every category is over 50%. Now, that's not going to make you money, but it's certainly not square to use those. The one thing I want you guys to take away is look at the home and away, those two columns in the middle. Away between my away favorites from -17 to -23.5, 59%. At home, 52.5. Away favorites from -24 to -31.5, 57%. At home, 51.8%. And the thing I want to remind our viewers when you're talking about big home favorites and big away favorites, I talked about Nebraska having 130 kids on their roster right now. When you're at home, you can dress over 100 players. So you have the ability to go first string, second string, third string, fourth string. And during garbage time, you may give some of those players some times. Your travel squad, when you go on the road, can only be 70 players. So 22 first string, 22 second string. And if you call 6 special team players, that gets you to 50. So you have to play your first string and second string, and you don't even have your entire third string when you go on the road. So to me, I do circle those situations where I have a big away favorite. I'm not afraid to use them. And then on the final right-hand side, I broke down conference and non-conference just to give you an idea. You do see that conference double-digit favorites. There's a negative from -10 to -16.5 in between, and then a negative as much. But again, the away favorites in the double-digit rolls, excluding those as -32 or higher, are the one thing I want you guys to focus on.
Sure. So one takeaway from me from this chart, and this is something I feel like I learned fairly early in my tenure in Vegas, which is when you start getting underdogs in college football where they're 35 points or more, and it's early season where teams are still focused, it's different in November. Where you have a conference game and then a non-conference game where you're laying 40 and then a conference game again, and you're tired, you're beaten down. But early in the season, when the focus is there, the square side is the dogs, not the favorites. The -38 favorites are the sharp side, not the square side in so many of these games. And Ralph, your second chart, I think, is going to exemplify that even better.
It is. This chart is the exact same data, but looking at it as a different way. You'll see we have the exact same line parameters. The first two columns are all the games, the best month and the worst month. The middle column are home games, the best month and the worst month. And the third and the last two columns are away games, the best and the worst. So I do want to point out this, Teddy. Look at the away to the right. You see the best month for -10 to -16.5 is November, 57%. -17 to -23.5, while the best month is September at 62.5, the worst month is November, and that's still 58%. And then you look at November favorites, away favorites from -24 to -31.5, they're 61.5%. So you look at those 3 away favorites from -17 to -31.5 in November, you are over 59% winners. Exactly what you stated, Teddy.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ralph, to me too. If you look the original charts, you mentioned how that mid-price, road favorites have done extremely well. Even the lower price 10 to 16.5 have done well. In fact, if you just take out those two bottom feeders at 8 and 16, it comes out to 55% for all other big double-digit road favorites. And you pointed this out last month in baseball, and it's something I've been using more than ever in all sports, is to play quality teams on the road. And there's several reasons it works. First of all, you're getting an automatic discount in any sport because home field is factored in. But then as Teddy knows, and Teddy and I have talked about this, home field in all sports are worth less than they've ever been worth since we started back in the 90s. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And that's what you want to look for. Big picture. You want to see breadth in the data sample, and you also want to have it make sense. And I think it makes sense here. And, Ralph, you pointed out that the best situation in baseball has been Game 1 Friday, road favorites, right? You had that chart about a month or two ago you put together for me. So I think this makes sense. And I love the angle about less players traveling. It's something I have thought about, but I always forget to mention. You can't help but run the score up when you only have your second string backups that are still better a lot of times than the starters on the other team. So fantastic data. And this is why Ralph Michaels is the chart master, stat daddy, the pen, human database, father of Jeff at WagerTalk.com. Ralph, it is $5 Thursday. What else do you got going on at WagerTalk? And you did a great college football preview, which we haven't talked about also, that's available.
Yeah, I am doing the Gold Sheet Top 25s. They're each about 12 to 15 minutes. I'm so excited to have done them. But for me, guys, it is preseason. It starts next Thursday. Since 2015, my preseason record, 68-36, 65.4%. My preseason record on games 4% and higher, how about 40-13, 76% since 2015. Get all of my preseason for $99. Sign up now. So as soon as I load my first play, you will receive it via email.
And once again, I pointed that out earlier. It's one of the reasons to be a direct subscriber because you get instant access to the best bets when they're released. When that hit send is gone, everybody gets it, including his baseball best bet, which already moved from earlier when he sent it out to clients. It's just a great reason to be a direct subscriber. But if you want to try out a one-day best bet, today's the day to do it because it's $5 Thursday Customer Appreciation Day right now, today and tonight at WagerTalk.com for Thursday. Teddy, everyone feels like summer ends on, Labor Day in early September. But for you, my friend, summer ends on July 31st because the NFL starts a week from tonight, next Thursday, August 1st. So I hope you enjoy this final week of summer.
Thank you. I mean, we think about summer, Memorial Day to Labor Day. The heart of summer, 4th of July to Labor Day in September. Not for football bettors, all right? Forget that Labor Day in September shit, all right? In my world, you do get 2 months of summer. June is NBA Finals. So you have maximum of 7 games. Then you have baseball. And July is all baseball. And baseball is lighter. It's a lighter time of year. But then it's over. The light stretch is done. NFL camps are open. College camps are opening. News is coming out every day, reports from camps every day from here on out. You get a sense for which teams are gelling early, which teams aren't. NFL preseason starts next week, the full slate of games the week after. I'll give you all another week. Heck, I'll give you 2. I'm going to take my summer vacation next week, back Monday, August 5th. But the NFL opening line report starts that day. The NFL season starts for real that week, Monday, August 5th. 8-2 NFL preseason last year. And that's all research. There's not one game where you're like, oh, I look at the spread and that's a play. You can't do that if you want to win in August. We joke about it, get your vacation in now. It's mid-July or late July, but it is. Get your break in now. Forget September. By the second week of August, we're in football season. And you can always tell the difference between the guys who worked in August and the guys who were still taking vacations. Not always wins and losses, but right sides and wrong sides. You'll see too many clearly wrong sides from the guys who aren't working and plenty of right sides from the guys who are. Did I mention my NFL week 1, 28-8, 78% over the last 9 years? We win in August. We win in September. No screwing around when I get back. One more show after today, then a little vacation, and then football season is absolutely here. Be ready. Rock and roll. Steve?
Yeah, I'm glad you said one extra week if you want it, because it's technically just one game next week, August 1st, Houston, Chicago. Yes. And you check the Wager Talk live odds screen, you'll see the Bears are currently a 1.5-point favorite in the Hall of Fame game. And then, as Teddy said, that following week, Thursday, August 8th, 2 games, 3 games Friday, huge amount of games on Saturday, August 10th. So if you need a little extra time for vacay, you've got one more week. But then, yeah, you got to buckle down. It's football season here in August. And then once again, college football kicks off with some games on August 24th before that huge card on August 31st, which includes that Nebraska UTEP game, which Ralph just gave you for free here on the show. Hey, we're going to look at some NFL in a moment here with Mark Zinno, but first we're going to talk a little bit of baseball with Mark Zinno because he's a Yankee fan, but I think he also follows the Braves pretty closely down there in hot Georgia. And I enjoyed having Mark on the baseball show yesterday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And Mark, it was chaos today with Tokyo Brandon and Adam Trigger. Who would have thought not having Mark Zinno and Brian Power would lead to chaos? Because yesterday's show was controlled chaos. Probably one of the best baseball shows ever. Go watch the replay for Wednesday. Games have already happened, but it was a fun show. Mark did an impression of Teddy and the Prez, but more so of the Prez, but he did. Maybe Brian did Teddy. We had Tucker Carlson Jr. do Teddy. It wasn't nearly as good, but yeah, Mark did the Prez. If you behave, maybe I'll have him do it on the way out here. But first, I want to ask you about the Braves and Mets. We did talk about this on MLB First Pitch earlier with Brandon and Adam and Tyler. A lot of people in the live chat were asking about this game, Mark, and they were saying line is dropping. But one thing that Tokyo pointed out, Sale was supposed to go Tuesday. He was supposed to go in the second game of the doubleheader last night, as you know. By the way, Mark gave out Reds free. Daytime went on that live show yesterday for Wednesday. But now Sale's going tonight. So he's been bumped a couple times. How do you think that'll affect him, and who do you like in this Braves-Mets game?
A high-scoring team at home. You get the Braves' best pitcher, the guy who's the favorite to win the Cy Young, who's gone 7 consecutive starts, not allowing more than 2 runs. And, oh, by the way, he has made Chris Sale has a total of 18 starts this year. He's only allowed more than 2 runs in just 3 of them. So when you're giving him 5.1 runs of support and he's only allowing 2 runs per start, this is a perfect spot here to take the Braves would open up as a short underdog, but now we're seeing, again, the money coming in on Atlanta because I'm following the money here. This is not a spot where I would want to back the Mets given the emotional high that they just came off of in beating the Yankees. Plus, it's Luis Severino. The last time Luis Severino pitched in Atlanta last year, I was at the game. I took my kids to it, and he got absolutely murdered through 3 innings of baseball. So this is when he was a member of the Yankees, of course. But point simply being, Severino's not the guy you want to back in this spot. So I'll take the Braves, short price on the money line here against the Mets in a letdown spot for them. Again, Chris Sale going to be dynamic. And as far as the skipping the starts, guys, the Braves have gone with 6 starters all year long. They have not had a typical 5-day rotation all season if you've been following this team. It's part of the reason what they did was to keep Sale and Morton and the older guys in the rotation fresh, especially when Spencer Strider went down, and not put as much weight on these younger pitchers to be able to have to go every 5 days and get crushed. So Sale is too much of a veteran to be bothered by the extra days off. I mean, really. I mean, he didn't pitch in the All-Star game on purpose, so he had, extra rest there as well. This shouldn't affect a guy like Chris Sale.
So here's my question for you, because we're betting, obviously, today's game. The full season numbers show Atlanta as the better of these 2 teams. But it's been, 2 months now where the Braves have played sub-500 baseball. They're 30-34 in their last 64 ball games. They scored the 3rd fewest runs in the National League during that span. Meanwhile, the Mets, after that awful start, have been bet on all the way. The lineup's clicking. The pitching staff's been great. And you're getting them at home in basically a pick-em price range. Current form says the Mets should be favored here, no?
Yeah, I think you're riding a little bit of the Mets hot streak. But again, when I look at the home road splits for the Mets, as far as, what their run production is, they are the 2nd highest scoring team in the National League behind Arizona on the road this year. And then you put them at home, Teddy, and you're looking at just a complete – and Citi Field is a cavernous ballpark. I mean, it's a different place. It's a pitcher's park. It was designed that way because the Mets always had good pitching. So this is a team that's middle of the road in scoring at home this year. I know they're hot, but I would give the edge to Sale over the Mets bats at this point in time. Sale, if you look at the numbers that he's put together and the teams that he's faced this year, he's got the better track record, the more proven track record this year of shutting teams down in certain spots, especially given, again, the run that he's been on as of late. I mean, the last time he got touched up more than 2 runs, I was actually at this game too. It was against Oakland. He got bombed around for 8 runs on a really bad start. But you have to go all the way back to April to a start where he's given up more than 2 runs. So this is the reason why this guy's leading the odds makers in the Cy Young, because the numbers are eye-popping, and I don't think we'll see any different from him today.
Yeah, on the surface, to say you can get a guy with those kind of numbers at a pick-em price is pretty unusual. We'll see how it plays out tonight.
Yes.
And you brought up a great point about the Mets home road splits, Mark. I mentioned this on the baseball show earlier. If you look at road numbers only, they have the best on-base plus slugging in all of baseball this year. They're only 16th when you look at home games only. So it's been something quite night and day, literally, between the Mets home and road. We'll see if that continues. And this is a nighttime game at 7 Eastern with a lot of daytime baseball on Thursday. All right, let's keep with the Atlanta theme for you. Another team that you follow very closely there in the NFC South in your neck of the woods, the Atlanta Falcons. This division looks wide open to me, a division of mediocrity. We've seen losing records win it in recent years. Falcons basically at minus 120 to win the South. Can they get it done?
Yeah, they should. I mean, look, this is the best starting quarterback in this division since Drew Brees. And after Drew Brees, probably the second best starting quarterback in this division since the height of Cam Newton, right? Like, Kirk Cousins is a top 8 quarterback in this league. This offense and the coaching staff and the players that were put on this offense were geared around his ability to do what he does best. And that's exactly what I would expect from Kirk Cousins here, to be able to lead this offense. You know, if you take a look at the numbers for Kirk before he got hurt last year, he was number 1 in QBR, number 1 in on-target rate, number 1 in EPA. I mean, this is a player last year and he led the NFL in passing yards, who was 100% primed for another prolific passing season. Now, you can sit here and talk to me about, the Falcons defense. Which defense in this division really scares you? I mean, Tampa's taken a hit. They've lost some players, right? Shaq Barrett's gone, and Lamont David's a little bit long in the tooth, but we know Carolina's defense is young. They're okay. The Saints defense still has Cam Jordan, but is it really as formidable? I mean, this is not a division that's marked by defense like consider the AFC North with the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns, right? I mean, this is a division that is kind of, as you said, up for grabs. But if you put these rosters side by side, I think the potency of the Atlanta Falcons offense outweighs any other metric you're going to put for any of the other 3 teams in this division. And the fact that they have the best and most stable starting quarterback in the division by a wide margin at this point. I mean, who would you give the second best quarterback to? Derek Carr? Because I don't trust Baker Mayfield. I've seen this story with Baker Mayfield before where he plays really well, then he gets all cocky, and then he plays like crap. We saw that in Cleveland, which is why he got shipped out of there. So, again, you're not trusting Bryce Young at this point. And so when you have the best quarterback in the division and a former Super Bowl assistant in this division as far as head coach is concerned, to me, it all feels like this is the team that everybody should be chasing. I would have made this number bigger than minus 120. I mean, I think it should be closer to minus 140 or minus 150. I think there's that much of a difference between the Falcons and everybody else in this division here. So, and I'll tell you this much, at least covering the team here in the South, like anything less than 10 wins and the NFC South title will be a major disappointment for this Falcons team, given the division that they play in. Like some of these other teams can make the playoffs, but 10 wins and a division title is the basement floor of what the expectation for this Falcons team is this year.
Sure. Much like last year when Atlanta failed to live up to those expectations and ended up being a non-playoff team.
You had Desmond Ridder at quarterback.
Sure, they were there. Yes.
There's a little bit more question marks.
No, absolutely. But let's talk about Cousins for a minute. Here's a 36-year-old QB learning a new offense coming off a torn ACL. How much do you really believe? And Cousins, I was just looking, he's been cleared, but quote, here's a quote from Raheem Morris, said that he's been cleared to play, but that he's going to be giving Cousins modified reps until he is fully healthy, which means he's not really healthy just yet. How confident you are that Kirk Cousins plays a full season? And if he doesn't, aren't you worried that they go to the rookie and then this 9.5 win total becomes a little bit dicey?
I mean, I would argue that any team that you bet on when it comes to a win total or winning their division if they lose their starting quarterback, your bet is in jeopardy no matter what. That's for all 32 teams.
Yes.
That's just the reality of the situation. Now, Kirk Cousins is not going to play in the preseason. He's just not. There's no reason for him to. There's no reason for him to be out there. There's no reason. This offense, Zach Robinson, who came from the Los Angeles Rams under the Sean McVay system, which is the same system that in Minnesota Kevin McDermott ran. It's all the same thing. It's tailored for Kirk Cousins. It's not a new offense for him. He knows everything about this offense inside and out because it's what he's been running for the last 3 years in Minnesota. So it's not anything new. He is 100% prepared to not only run this offense, but teach this offense to a lot of young players and a lot of young talented players. I mean, look, again, division-wise, the Falcons have the best running back in the division, right, at this point in time. Is Bijan better than what's his face in New Orleans? The guy who got arrested starts with a K. The only K I can think of is Kamala Harris right now. Who am I thinking? Thank you, Kamara. I didn't want to say Kamara. Yeah, not that. Different one. So, there's no other running back in this division that scares you. They have, at least on paper, the most talented tight end in the division in Kyle Pitts, and probably a top 3 wide receiver. So the weapons are all there for him to deliver for Kirk Cousins. It's just a question of, can they stay healthy? Yeah, there's no reason to believe Kirk Cousins isn't going to be healthy and not going to be able to play, but I would expect very limited time from him in the preseason. There's no reason for him to. He knows the offense. He doesn't need the reps. Maybe he play a series in the final preseason game. Sure, why not? But beyond that, I don't think we'll see him much at all this preseason.
That's Mark Zinno talking about his Atlanta Falcons and his Atlanta Braves as he's wearing his New York Yankees hat live on the WagerTalk TV. Mark, what you got going on?
History loves company.
Well, let me ask you this. I checked the schedule. The Yankees and Braves don't play the rest of this year. I thought maybe they'd have a head-to-head, but if it's in Atlanta, you rooting for the Yankees over the Braves?
Oh, yeah. I took the kids last year when the Yankees came to town, and we wore all Yankee stuff. It was embarrassing back then. Again, Severino started that game. The best part was I had a friend hook me up with the Delta Sky Club seats, so we got nice food and everything else, and it was a good experience. A dick move.
You can't be wearing the other team's stuff when someone hooks you up with the home team Sky Club. Come on now, you never get invited back.
I didn't wear it.
I know, but you don't get invited back.
My kids wore it because you can't get mad at a child for wearing the opposing team's gear. So that was my defense. I didn't wear the gear. I put the kids in the gear.
And then on top of that, he yelled the entire game. I told them not to wear that. Wink, wink, right at him. Grab me another hot dog, kids, another free beer on the side. I love it. That's how you roll here on WagerTalk TV. Mark, what you got going on for $5 Customer Appreciation Thursday?
Well, unfortunately, my $5 play has already kicked off. So,
boom.
I'll tell everybody what it is. It's the Orioles minus the 1.5. I got it I paid a hefty price too at minus 135, but just the Orioles are up 2-0 already. I finding it hard to figure out a world where the Orioles score less than 5 runs for the 5th consecutive game and they get swept by the Marlins with their best starter on the mound. So, famous last words in Major League Baseball, right? There's no way they're going to lose 3 in a row, right? And then they do. Yes, but, it's just time to play on the Orioles here. So that was my $5 play up on the website today.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. And it goes back to the theme of the show. Yet another reason to be a direct subscriber, because you would have gotten that best bet the minute it was released this morning. And by the way, if you missed out on the $5 best bet, don't worry. Tomorrow, a little foreshadowing. It's going to be 25% off Fill Your Cart Special Friday at WagerTalk. So you can pick up Mark Zinno, Teddy Covers, myself, Steve Merrill, any direct packages, which will save you a lot more than just $5. All right, Teddy, we got Kyle Anthony around the corner to finish the show off with some UFC 304 talk. But before we do so, let's talk a little bit more baseball. Daytime, 4 o'clock Eastern, Giants, Dodgers. Kershaw is back for L.A. What are you doing with this one?
Yeah, afternoon action in L.A. with Clayton Kershaw on the hill. Let's talk about Dodgers, Giants with today's big game breakdown. I talked a little bit earlier in the show. Look, the NFL preseason last year, outstanding, 8-2, 80%. NFL Week 1, 28-8 over the last 9 years. Consistent winning results. My baseball is doing really good right now as well. I'm on a 77% heater over the last 2 weeks. 68% counting every day, every play, every day. $100 better up more than $4,100 over the last 5 weeks in MLB. And we'll see if we can do it again today. Dodgers Giants right now. Look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. Dodgers in the minus 120 range with Clayton Kershaw at home. And no, I don't expect Kershaw to be an ace today. You know, he missed the first 4 months of the campaign. Last year, his velocity was way down. Oh, we all remember the last time we saw him. He couldn't get out of the first inning against the Diamondbacks in the playoffs. D-backs swept LA out. All that being said, even with him pitching hurt all last year, even with his velocity down, he went 13-5 with a 2.46 ERA. All right. Clayton Kershaw is still Clayton Kershaw. All right. Even at age 36. He's pitched well against San Francisco. The Dodgers are playing good baseball right now. Yeah, they got shut down by Robbie Ray. That's their first loss since the All-Star break yesterday. All right. San Fran off a win. 0-5 their last 5 tries. They're not putting winning streaks together. They're 5-9 their last 14. They're not playing good baseball. This isn't a good team. They're a sub-500 team for a reason. They had scored 3 runs or less in 7 straight games before yesterday. They're 2-4 in ace Logan Webb's last 6 starts. You know? And Webb hasn't been good. His July's been rough. He's been bombed at home versus the Jays last time. Had a loss at Colorado coming out of the All-Star break. And he also had a rough All-Star game. Remember, he gave up 3 hits and a walk, gave up the 3-run dinger in that contest. Dodgers are clicking right now, man. They're 5-1 since the breaks. 4 of the 5 wins have come at minus 129 or lower. They're being underpriced in the markets, just like they are tonight. I know Clayton Kershaw. I'm not expecting ace-level performance from Clayton Kershaw. Doesn't matter. LA's still worth backing in this very reasonable price range against an inferior foe. Lay it or don't play it. Give me the Dodgers minus the very modest price. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Yeah, Teddy, we talked about this game in depth on the MLB First Pitch show, and it's kind of been the theme this week for me on all the shows is who would have thought at this point of the season we'd be getting the Dodgers with Kershaw against anybody at home laying $1.20 or $1.25. You know, it's really incredible. And it's not like they've underachieved this year. They're 61-42, like plus 90-some net runs on the season. And now I think there's actually value with the Dodgers here in the near future, something we've talked a lot about this week. Don't forget MLB First Pitch, 11 a.m. Eastern, every day live, Monday through Friday. All 8 games broken down for this Thursday, and we'll break down a ton of the games tomorrow and Friday as well. All right, let's wrap up the show, though, with some fight talk. It's fight time. Kyle Anthony, UFC expert. And Kyle, I told you this last week. I love that you don't mess around, man. We bring you on, you get right to the main event. So what you looking at here for UFC 304?
Yeah, so we're going to talk the main event of the evening, which is going to be Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. Now, you've got Edwards here, minus 260 on the comeback. You've got Belal Muhammad around the plus 210 mark. Now, line is wide, but probably for all the right reasons here. Now, really the main path to victory for Belal is going to be wrestling. He's going to look to push forward, crash the pocket, push Leon up against the fence, hold him there, dirty box. Again, rinse and repeat. That's kind of been his game plan. That's what he does, and it's been able to kind of smother some of the offense of his opponents. Now, Belal does have a 35% takedown success rate, not too high, but he does shoot relentless takedowns, so that number can be a little skewed. But Leon does have a 70% takedown defense rate, so I think that will hold up. But the one thing here that you look at Belal, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think his rise to this title shot is not very impressive at all. Since his first fight with Leon Edwards, he's had 5 victories. 3 of the 5 victories were against wrestlers who don't have striking. He fought Damian Maia on his retirement fight, who has 0 striking. He beat Sean Brady in Abu Dhabi, who absolutely gassed out after that first round. Yes, Belal went out there and got that victory. And then even Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns hurt his arm in the first round of a 5-round fight, still lasted the 5 rounds. But Belal goes out there and gets the victory. Just not great performances overall. And even the other 2 victories, an aged-out Wonder Boy Thompson, who's a kickboxer, and then even Vicente Luque, who's 1-3 out of his last 4. Just not the greatest, showing really overall. And this is going to by far be the best striker, the best fighter that Leon has, that Belal has faced by far. And while the other side, Leon has faced this exact prototype for the last 3 fights, and probably better fighters. Kamaru Usman, heavy wrestling attack, went out there, beat him twice. Most recently, Colby Covington, another guy, heavy wrestler, went out there and beat him. So I really think this is a spot where Leon can stay safe, sprawl and brawl, utilize his high-level striking. Belal's striking is shit, to be honest with you, not good at all. And I think Leon can work play here, really. And it's really going to be the fact that Bilal over his last 15 fights, 13 went to the decision. Over Leon Edwards' last 15 fights, 11 went to the decision. So this is a spot. I'm getting off the big number here on Leon Edwards here. Leon via points is plus 120. I think it's a good number, and I think it's a very likely path for him to go out there and win on Saturday night.
Yeah, certainly with the total sitting at 4.5 rounds, juice to the over, -$2 in the over. And you talk about a -250 favorite. That, to me, as an amateur when it comes to UFC, makes a whole lot of sense to bet it that way. Let's talk about the undercard. Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Do you think Chikadze is a live underdog in this one? Tell us why.
Yeah, so this one here, I think the market kind of opened up this line a little too wide, and I think there's a couple reasons. I think the first is Giga. He's 35 years old. That's obviously, he's the older guy here by 5 years, and also the fact that 2 fights ago, Giga got his butt kicked against Calvin Kattar, which wasn't a great look overall. But I think in this particular fight, he's got a lot of paths here and really an opportunity to really utilize his main path. Now, Allen, there is an opportunity for him to look for wrestling. He can look for takedowns, get the, kickboxer down, try to get him down, but that's just not Allen's game. Allen over the last 4 fights has 0 takedown attempts, and over his last 6 fights has only successfully landed 2 takedowns, and they were both against Sadiq Youssef. So I think this is a spot really where he can kind of survive. This can play out on the feet, and if this plays out on the feet, I think this line is way too wide. I think that it's going to be much closer than this line indicates. I think he's going to be able to go out there, utilize some of his distance management, utilize some of his great striking. He's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage and a 4-inch height advantage. I think he's really going to be able to utilize that with his rangy striking, while Allen is the guy that just looks to bomb away and move forward. Now, yes, he's got some power. Yes, he can land. There are opportunities for him, but he's just a low volume guy. And that's been one of his problems where he just isn't a guy that's going to be setting up these big shots. He'll just throw 1 or 2 big hooks. And if he doesn't get it, he can possibly get it. But it's just definitely going to be more on the kickboxing side of Giga. I think that will shine. And you got to look at the last 3 wins also for Allen, and I'm not impressed with them either. Even his win over Sadiq Youssef, he beat Sadiq Youssef via decision, but Sadiq outlanded him 47-21 on significant strikes. The only reason Allen got it was because there were 2 knockdowns. He ended up edging it out. The other fight was Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker came down to 145 pounds, which was not a good move for him. He looked terrible at weigh-ins and got absolutely ran through in the first round. And then the other one was Calvin Kattar, another injury that happens early, and it does give Allen the nod as the victor. But I think this is a spot where the line's wide. It's a juicy number here. I think that Giga's footwork, distance management is really going to shine here. So I think the plus money is absolutely worth it here on Giga Chikadze.
It's Kyle Anthony, fight expert at WagerTalk.com, and that's not an understatement because, Kyle, you're number 1 in return on investment in all sports for this calendar year 2024, and you've got a rare 5% best bet going, perfect 7-0 this year. And you got another one going for UFC 304 this week. And tell us about it.
Yeah, so we're really finding some good spots here. 4% plays are 14-5 this year. 5% plays are 7-0, and we really have a nice spot here that I do like. Want to jump on it, want to get on it. Have 3 plays combined. Again, normally, I like to have about 5 or 6 positions per card. So I do like it here. We'll be adding more. Don't have a play up for $5 appreciation, but you can grab the pack tomorrow, apparently, from what Steve's saying. So grab that. But I'm ready to cash on another weekend.
That's right. Big weekend. Don't miss a rare 5% from Kyle Anthony. He's a perfect 7-0 this year on him. He's got one going for this Saturday. UFC 304. You got to watch it. Might as well make some money while you do so. It's Kyle Anthony, WagerTalk.com. Thank you to Ralph Michaels, Mark Zinno as well. We'll be back tomorrow, Teddy, to do this again with Friday's show live at noon Eastern, of course. And don't forget the MLB First Pitch show is live at 11 a.m. Eastern, right before Wager Talk Today. That is the ultimate double play this summer, is First Pitch at 11, Wager Talk Today live at 12 Eastern. And I will be back with you. It'll be Prez free tomorrow. So, Teddy, get a good night's sleep, sweet dreams. Don't forget $5 customer appreciation Thursday for every best bet, for one best bet per capper. No promo code needed. WagerTalk.com. And also, by the way, there is a $2 best bet from Coleman at SportsMemo.com. Take us home, Teddy.
Yeah, but exactly. That $2 best bet at Sports Memo. $5 best bets from everyone at WagerTalk.com. It's a good day to visit the website. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the games. Best of luck with all your bets. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, right here on Wager Talk Today.